Hello everyone, Giltar here with part 2 of my review of the 1 to 72 scale Rayleonard 3 aaliyah. It's a model by Kotobukiya in the Armored Core Variable Infinity series of models. I did forget to mention 2 points of articulation in part 1 there, so I'll just quickly point them out. The first being is just the ankle armor. Now I won't move the front part because there's like a silver bit here that is only held in by friction. I don't want to knock it out of place, but I will move the back sort of ankle armor. You can move that much. Not terribly, posable, but I mean it moves a fair degree, so it's not too bad. Another point here is just there are some like armored flaps at the back of the torso that open up to reveal like a central jet propulsion unit. So that's something else as well. Alright, so move back. So moving on to the pro and con list that I have. I'll start off with the cons. First and foremost are just some loose parts. Like the energy gun here, you really want to glue it together, otherwise it can easily fall apart. The wrist connectors for the hands are very loose as well. They're only held in by friction. The back skirt or tail armor here is quite loose. And finally, the upper shoulder and upper arm bits here are somewhat loose as well, so at some point you might want to glue them in. They're not terrible, but I mean, it's just they have that chance of popping out upon just sort of normal maneuvering and handling of the model kit. However, it's not a lot. There are parts listed in the instruction manual that Kotobukiya says they should need cementing or gluing. So, I mean, I don't know if it's just my particular model that's loose, but maybe that could be. There are 2 bits here, these sort of thruster components that I didn't glue in yet because they're right here and they're very loose. They won't stick in by themselves through friction. I don't want to glue them in yet because there are silver bits I want to remove for painting at a later point. So, there are some parts that are undocumented that need gluing. However, for the sort of the official gluing bits, there are only 2 as far as I could see in the instructions. There are bits on the thigh armor here that you have like small like silver plastic discs that you glue into place. I didn't do them yet because I want to paint them. And up top on the spoiler type of component on either end are these like little pointy fins. In the instruction manual it says you have to glue them in, but they're extremely tight fitting, and in fact after I put them on, I'm pretty sure that if I tried to remove them I'd probably snap the pegs on them. So the good news is those parts you don't need to glue, the fins on the spoiler. Next up is just simply lack of articulation at the major points of the body: ankle, knee, and elbow. These parts, just as you saw in the first part of the review, very limited in articulation, and really I would say it's more due to the design of the armored core, the concept art, the source material, as opposed to the design of the model kit, because these joints here are surrounded by large bits of armor, and you just can't expect something like that to be, have 180-degree flush bends. It just won't happen with this. So it's the lack of articulation in those key points of the model is definitely going to be an issue with some people who like to pose their model kits more. But at the same time, there are some significantly posable parts like the hip joints, the waist, and the shoulders all allow a great degree of swiveling, of rotational movement. So that's a great thing. Now the head, unfortunately, because of the lack of articulation, you're not going to be really posing it a lot. And the thing is that in this design, the head can kind of get lost in it. In the visuals, so that's another sort of downside to it, but it sort of balances out. It's not terribly unposable, but there are key points that I kind of wish had more posability, and they just don't in this model kit. The next on the list of cons is simply the price. It's $40 or so American. It's not something that you would just casually invest in. I know some master grade model kits by Bandai and the Gundam lines are around $40, but the thing is that for the most part, the master grade kits I've seen, even the early ones, there are very sort of hobbyist friendly. Like you can go from like the novice model kit enthusiast to the most experienced ones, and everyone can get something out of it. Whereas this is really made for the sort of the more involved model kit enthusiast. So the price is somewhat prohibitive, I'd say. And last on my list of cons is just simply the number of parts. There's a lot of parts to assemble to make this model kit. The arm itself takes over 50 separate components to put together. So for a lot of people out there who just want to get to the finished product, you're not going to like this. You're not going to like the time and effort that you need to put in order to finish the model assembly. So I mean that's an issue too. And then just the fact there are a lot of small parts. If you drop them, they're very easy to lose. So keep that in mind when you do assemble this model kit if you do get it. I'll move on to my list of pros. The first one is actually number of parts. On the flip side of the parts issue, if you're someone like me who really likes the assembly process and likes a more complicated sort of experience, you're going to like the fact that it takes a lot of bits to put together, because these are really nicely detailed parts of the model, and it's due to the fact that you have a lot of separate components to basically combine. So that's really enjoyable for a more sort of involved model kit enthusiast. The second pro is just it is a very stable model overall. It's just that the few points of looseness, like in the weapon here, the wrists, the back skirt, those few parts can sort of compromise and make the sort of wobbly feeling come out even more. Once they're secured by cementing or gluing, you're going to have a really tight figure overall. So it's not as bad as I made it maybe sound like earlier on. And the final pro I have for it is just the fact that it's a very highly detailed figure. The details are so nicely sculpted into the parts. It's really great in the weapons, in the limbs. Every part looks just wonderful. And if you're someone like me who enjoys and appreciates mechanical and industrial designs, that kind of visual aesthetic, you're gonna love Armored Core model kits. They're just really detailed. And it's hard to go wrong. If you like highly detailed designs, Armored Core is the way to go for you, I'd say. And also, like I've said before in my previous reviews for model kits, Kotobukiya's franchises, the ones that they work with, like Armored Core, bring a sense of style that you just can't find in mainstream mecha. Especially Armored Core. It's just these designs look quite alien. They only have the most sort of bare, details of a humanoid appearance. I mean, they're bipedal. They have 2 arms, 2 legs. But I mean, like, look at the aaliyah, for example. It's just the limbs are humanoid, but it's quite alien, very non-human, which I like because it's a machine. I also like the sense of style in terms of just the visual design, sharp, acute, angled parts. The form is very aggressive, of everything sort of pointing forward at an angle. It's very aggressive looking. So I really like that about this design. Everything about it looks intended to create harm in something. So it's definitely a mean looking design, I'd say. And again, with kind of like the sort of non-human remark I made earlier, it's also in a way kind of insectile. Like the torso and the head kind of have a pointed, almost like bug-like appearance to it. There's no sort of obvious eyes, mouth, nose, nothing like that. No facial features to sort of connect it on a human level. So it's very, if not insect-like, it's kind of animal-like or alien, I'd say. Very machine-like. So I really like that about this design. And so overall, yeah, I would recommend this model kit for people who are more involved in models, who like sort of more involved, in-depth experience. If you're someone who just wants to put together a model kit and maybe panel line it at the most, you might want to stay away from these, because these are something that you not only invest money in, but they're just ripe for fulfilling potential in terms of painting it. You really want to give it the whole 9 yards. Clean the parts, prime the parts. Give it some paint, use clear coats for protective purposes and for a finishing touch. If you want a gloss or a matte or a flat coat, you could go either way. Definitely has a sports car look to it, especially with the spoiler at the top and very sort of mechanical look. You could give it like a gloss finish. It would look like an Armored Core mecha that came just right out of the factory. Or if you give it like a flat finish, it would look like more of a practical military vehicle. So yeah, overall, definitely recommend it, but only for a specific type of hobby model enthusiasts out there. Definitely worth the money, I'd say. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review and got something out of it. And I'll be back with another review sometime soon.